My name is Matthew Jester, and this video is Billie Eilish and Post-Hypnotic Suggestions, part 2 of 2. So I have a certificate of completion just showing that I'm certified and competent in the field of hypnosis. This is from Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. And I'm going to start with my general introduction. Please watch my video, Hypnosis, Abuse, and Speech Inhibition. I will leave a link to watch the video in the description. I will also leave additional links in the description of other relevant videos. I've been tortured and abused with hypnosis, and my ability to speak is being inhibited with hypnosis, which is why I have to read everything when I make videos. If you notice me stuttering, speaking slowly, being unable to speak clearly, or any other difficulty speaking, I explain in detail the specific methods and techniques that are being used to inhibit my ability to speak in my video, Hypnosis, Abuse, and Speech Inhibition. These issues speak and occur consistently in each of my videos, specifically within the first 3 minutes. The hypnosis inhibiting my ability to speak is often very noticeable throughout my videos, and I will leave a list of the various hypnotic commands that are specifically being used to inhibit my ability to speak that can be recognized in my body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, and speech patterns in the description. In this video, I'm going to be presenting evidence of what I discussed in the last video, Billie Eilish and Post-Hypnotic Suggestions, part 1 of 2. Please make sure to watch part 1 of 2 before watching this video, or else the video will not make any sense. I will also leave a link to watch Billie Eilish and Post-Hypnotic Suggestions, part 1 of 2 in the description. So, when I was hypnotized in Jordan Valley Medical Center's emergency room, the social worker told me that Billie Eilish's name meant something. The social worker told me that Billie meant billionaire because you can't pronounce billionaire without Billie, and that Eilish meant I wish because they rhyme. I was also hypnotized to draw a star that looked like it had one arm raised that was shooting a beam of light out of the raised arm, and to write Make-A-Wish over the beam of light, and to think it was the Make-A-Wish Foundation's logo. So, as you can see right there, I was also hypnotized to draw the same star shooting a beam of light out of its hand and to write everything I wanted on top of the beam of light because the Make-A-Wish Foundation was supposed to make everything I wanted come true, as you can see right there. So, I was also hypnotized to think of the old NBC public service announcement, the More You Know logo. The social worker also told me that they got the idea from the Mountain Star Hospital logo. I was also hypnotized to think Eilish meant eyelash because they sound similar, and to think that eyelash meant eyelash, the homonym, meaning eyelash like with a ruler, for example, and to think it was a reference to my grandfather telling me that he was ambidextrous and able to write with his left and right hand because teachers used to lash students who wrote with their left hand with a ruler to get students to write with their right hand. I was hypnotized to think that the reference to my grandfather being taught to write with his right hand was a reference to how I was taught to change the letter formation in my handwriting. Since I was taught to change the letter formation in my handwriting, I naturally was curious if I could find or learn anything interesting in the handwriting and the death threat letters, and discovered various similarities and patterns caused by hypnosis in my handwriting that were also in his handwriting, which was how the series of metaphors related the name Eilish with FBI handwriting analysis. I was also hypnotized to draw an eye to symbolize the I in FBI, and I was hypnotized to draw an eyelash on the eye because Eilish is pronounced very similarly to eyelash. So here is one example of what that would look like, and then Facebook history investigation, or Federal Bureau of Investigation. So. When I was hypnotized, the social worker tried to hypnotize me to think that death threats were funny and tried to hypnotize me to brag about getting multi-billionaire death threats, because I must have been doing something very impressive to get multi-billionaire death threats. I was hypnotized to think death threats were funny since threatening to kill a suicidal person could literally be laughable because it could actually encourage a suicidal person to do what they were threatened for doing if they wanted to die, which is why they threatened to torture me and kill my friends and family. The emphasis was put on multi-billionaire death threats because I was hypnotized to think that some multi-billionaires were willing to pay for multi-billion-dollar ransoms in exchange for a presidential exemption for criminal activity they were involved in. I was hypnotized to think everything I wanted was a reference to how they told me that I was going to be able to go on NBC and talk about everything I wanted politically. I was also hypnotized to think that in a hostage situation, everything I wanted meant that as long as I gave the captors everything they wanted for a ransom, that I would get everything I wanted in return, and everyone would get everything they wanted in the situation. I was hypnotized to think that since I was threatened that they were going to kill Billie Eilish, that I could post all the hypnotic metaphors and post-hypnotic suggestions on Facebook as a method of protecting her, because it would be evidence I was threatened and told about it before it happened, so then the people that threatened her wouldn't be able to get away with hurting her. I was hypnotized to think Billie Eilish was going to be murdered if I didn't go on Facebook Live and make a video every time I attempted to organize any evidence I had. Whenever I attempted to write and organize the post-hypnotic suggestions and hypnotic metaphors they told me so that I could try to explain them, I was hypnotized to think Billie Eilish and several other celebrities were taken hostage a few days before the court day I had late in April 2021 for the assault charges I was framed for, and to think that they were threatening to kill hostages if I didn't go on Facebook Live, and make a video every time I tried to prepare for a video to explain the situation rationally and logically. Every time I was about to fall asleep so that I would become sleep deprived. Every time I tried to take care of my personal hygiene so that I would look unpresentable when I made videos. And whenever I attempted to prepare for court so that I would miss court and have a warrant put out for my arrest to prevent me from withdrawing my plea and going to trial. In fact, I even called the courthouse before court and left a voicemail for someone named Angie, who was responsible for rescheduling court dates, and told her that I was dealing with a hostage situation and couldn't make it to court. She never returned my phone call or responded to my voicemail, and about 2 weeks later, a warrant was issued for my arrest. Let's see here. And by the way, I was also framed for those assault charges. I don't know if that was mentioned in here. So I don't see it. But yeah, anyways, that's the situation there. That's one of the reasons that they hypnotized me, was to try to frame me. So, because that's the method that they use to try to control me. Now, moving on here. We'll go ahead and move that out of the way, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So, these Instagram photos all had certain hypnotic cues. So, the first one, sorry, my camera should be able to focus on the picture, but it's not right now. It is very blurry. I could try to turn down the brightness. Okay. Anyways, so as you can see here, this one was the first one. I'm going to do these in chronological order by date. So as you can see, the G on the side of the shirt or sweater, I was hypnotized to think the G meant G-Easy. Let's see. So the next one was I was hypnotized to think that this one was a mugshot picture. And I was hypnotized to think it meant she got death threats because of me, and to think it referenced a jail mugshot. Let's see, next one. Okay, so with this one, I was hypnotized to think that I have 1 week to figure it out. Hypnotized to imagine Peter J. Island saying, "My neck is on the line," for him not to figure it out. And hypnotized to think of the Mexican cartel. And the reason for that is because her chin is raised, exposing her neck. And she also has the necklaces around her neck. And, I was also hypnotized to think of the song Hostage, which references a chain around someone's neck. So, anyways. Next one, this one, it, looks almost like a tired picture. Hypnotized to imagine her thinking or telling me, "I can't believe I got death threats because of you, and you are hypnotized, aren't you?" Kind of like a "I don't know what I got myself into" type of situation. This one, give me just a moment. So I was hypnotized to think this picture meant she was being held hostage, and to think that the straps were symbolic of being tied up. Because as you can see here, there are straps on her pants, when it focuses. So, as you can see. Anyways, let's see now. Next one was the blue striped shirt. And I was hypnotized to think this referenced how the hypnosis was detrimental to my health. Oh wait, no, sorry about that. I was hypnotized to think of medical malpractice in Hawaii, just because, for whatever reason, I was hypnotized to think of a Hawaiian shirt as well. Let's see, so then the next one, this one you can see the caption, "You look half dead half the time." And I was hypnotized to think this referenced how the hypnosis was detrimental to my health, like, for example, how I was hypnotized not to drink water. Next one is the red hotel room. I was hypnotized to think of Donald Trump and to think that the red room meant red rum. And I was hypnotized to think it meant I could kiss her goodbye. Like not, like kiss her literally, but like kiss her goodbye as in, she's going to die. And then, let's see, this picture, same picture, or, same shirt at least. And I was hypnotized to think the G emblem still meant G-Easy. And anyways, moving on from that, let's see, next up. Alright, and then these are some more hypnotic cues. So we'll go ahead and get started with this one. And you can see this one was on her Instagram, and crying at Coachella 2 years ago today, LMAO. And this was on her Instagram story, by the way. I was cued to think that Billie Eilish died after I saw a specific picture of her crying on Instagram that was taken 2 years prior to that date, and to think it meant since she died, her Instagram page was a memorial, and to think, are you happy? That's how she went down in history. In the second picture, you can see I commented about crying for 3 to 4 hours because I thought she was murdered as evidence. The picture cued the thought that she was murdered. So, I legitimately believe she died, and, it, just hurt my heart so very much because, she's just completely innocent, and that's not the type of, something that, was completely undeserved. But anyways, I was hypnotized to think the blurry pictures on Billie Eilish's Instagram meant they were going to decapitate her with a chainsaw. So, these are the pictures that I'm referencing that she posted on her Instagram story as well. And, let me see, so, everything's kind of a little bit, wow, scary. But yeah, you can see the tops of those pictures right there, the light right there on the left, and then the door, you can see right there, and part of the window. So this one, okay, I was hypnotized to think the necklace picture meant I had people running away from me in Logan City, Utah. I was hypnotized to think that I broke my contract with the city of Logan because the city wasn't safe. I was hypnotized to think this picture meant the city of Logan would be a ghost town when people heard about what happened to me in one of the top 99% safest cities in the United States. I was also hypnotized to think this meant the Mexican cartel was going to decapitate Billie Eilish. And, so that's the picture that cued the thought. Let's see, moving on from that. And this one, this is her with Matthew Tyler Vorsey, who was actually her boyfriend. Although I did not, I was hypnotized to think it meant something entirely different. I couldn't even comprehend the situation at all. Anyways, I'll go ahead and describe it. So I was hypnotized to think the pictures of them together meant she was being held hostage because Matthew Tyler Vorsey somewhat resembled Charlie Sheen while wearing a baseball cap, thinking it was an implication to the Charlie Sheen has AIDS hypnotic metaphor, and that he was an aide that kidnapped Billie Eilish and held her hostage. This hypnotic metaphor will be discussed at the end of the video. And was discussed in the last video. Let's see. Okay, now I'll go ahead and just start reading first. So I was hypnotized to think the picture of Phineas in the white shirt with blue headphones around his neck, and then the little bit of red there as well. Hypnotized to think the picture of Phineas in a white shirt with blue headphones resembled Freddy from Scooby-Doo, the cartoon, and that it meant he was being held hostage and tied to a chair because I was trying to solve mysteries or crimes. Let's see, and then here you can see a picture of his neutered dog. So you know that's not a female dog, that's a neutered dog, but I was hypnotized to think it meant they were going to cut off Phineas's reproductive organ. You know, this was both in the same day. And this is evidence of the post. So you can see what I'm saying there. You know, because, yeah, there's further evidence of that. By the way, I had threats that I would have mine cut off, and cues from a picture on Instagram where they had Phineas O'Connell, Billie Eilish's brother, held hostage, and he was wearing a Freddy costume, like off Scooby-Doo, and a picture of a neutered dog. So, you know, you could kind of get the implication where if I was hypnotized to think that's what that meant, before they posted those pictures, by the way, you can see that was also from his Instagram story. And then, you know, I posted that, so, and tagged them in it as well. Let's see, so... Alright, there are some screenshots of a Facebook post which is evidence of hypnotic cues. Or these are. So, I was hypnotized to think that the pictures Billie Eilish posted on her Instagram of the puppies and Billie Eilish's song Bad Guy was a reference to the Charlie Sheen has AIDS hypnotic metaphor, because the hypnotic metaphor references breaking my legs for medications in jail and becoming injured, like my dog, when I was framed for assault charges. I discussed this hypnotic metaphor in detail in part 1, so make sure to watch it if you haven't already. These are the pictures that I'm referencing, especially because the dogs are actually next to her knees, as you can see. This is what I posted that you can see some of the relevance. The doctors wanted me to break my legs for medical malpractice because of medical malpractice when they discontinued my Ambien prescription, and I was sleep deprived getting ready for work and stepped on my dog's legs and toes on accident. So they framed me for aggravated assault charges, and when I started investigating Donald Trump organizing hypnotists for the premeditated murder and abuse of McKay Cody James, and Bennett Pala's premeditated murder as well happened, and Billie Eilish received premeditated death threats, I have enough evidence to convict them. Not exactly a complete sentence, but regardless, this is organized crime I'm stepping on right now. You can kind of get the metaphor there, which they're trying to frame me for to minimize the importance that I stepped on my dog's legs from sleep deprivation. So, I was also threatened that the doctors wanted me to break my legs. Anyways, moving on from that. Let's see here. Oh, there's a little bit more evidence. You can see I'm mentioning G-Eazy and some other things. Make-A-Wish Foundation and Billie Eilish. Okay. Next up is Scratching the Record. So, let's see here. I'm just going to look at this to see... Ah, that's what that meant. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so it's not in the description on this Facebook post, but you can see here it's a YouTube video where Billie Eilish scratched. I was hypnotized to think scratching the record meant something bad and abnormal, like as if someone looking at the record may ask, is that a scratch? Kind of like if you looked at a album, like a vinyl record. I was hypnotized to think that scratching the record meant I was making G-Eazy's music look bad because Eminem was my favorite artist. Kind of referencing like, when you scratch a record in a rap song. Making that era type of noise. I was also hypnotized to think that if I broke the world record for hyperventilation syndrome, that it would be scratching the record because it wasn't supposed to happen. I was also hypnotized to think that Billie Eilish getting scratched meant she was getting hurt, and that if she was murdered, that she would be scratching the record in history, because the records of events in history would be something that wasn't supposed to happen, like how they threatened me that they were going to make me look bad for doing the right thing and helping people, because that's what happened as a result. That's at least what they hypnotized me to think. So, let me see here. And I didn't actually know at the time what that was supposed to mean, or I had it repressed from my memory. As soon as I would try to tell anybody about it, or hypnotized to think that it was something else. Anyways, let's see here. Lovase Ovidar. So I was hypnotized to think you're going to forget it meant you're going to forge it, meaning that they were going to forge charges against me. And you can see here I had a Facebook message. So she better be okay, man. Hypnosis is a form of mind control, so it can do things that people could forget. And I was hypnotized to think that was a message to me that I was hypnotized to write. That was pre-scripted, because forget meant forge. As you can see in that example. So let's see here. The Google Translate pictures show a slightly varied alteration on the translation after translating it back to English. These are screenshots from a Facebook status, which is further evidence of the hypnotic metaphors and hypnotic cues. So as you can see here, I'm saying she is alive and healthy, and then as you can see here, it says as long as I am safe. Doesn't even have the word healthy either, I noticed, but yeah. So, putting that in Google Translate and then translating it back. So I was hypnotized to think that they were altering that when I was trying to negotiate what I believed was a hostage situation. What I was hypnotized to believe. Anyways. And then moving on from that one, let's see, so Donald Trump Goya. Alright, so I was hypnotized to think Donald Trump advertised for Goya beans in the White House as a metaphor referencing opening a can of beans, referencing framing me for assault charges I didn't commit. I was hypnotized to think that letting me know what it meant was spilling the beans. So as you can see here, that's an example. That's kind of an example right there. And then in the status, you can also see me mentioning I was hypnotized to think she was dying when my cell phone was dying, and that she'd be dying if I didn't charge it enough, which is further evidence of the multi-billionaire ransoms and Billy Gates hypnotic metaphors. And then you can see here, I don't know if it didn't or didn't, because I was hypnotized to think she was dying when my cell phone was dying, and that she'd be dying if I didn't charge it enough. And let me see, so the part where I referenced the death threats being brutal, like butchering a cow referenced being hypnotized to visualize a video I was shown of a cow having its eye gouged out whenever I tried to eat any food that wasn't vegan, which resulted in me becoming vegan for a brief period of time because the visualization made me very nauseated. And so what was said specifically there, it meant that death threats could be absolutely brutal, like butchering a cow, or a better example is a lumberjack cutting down a tree. Let's see, so next up is Warren Buffett. Okay, so I have some evidence that I posted about him, also sent some messages. So, let's see here. I was also hypnotized to think that Warren meant warning, and to think that it was a method of warning me that Warren Buffett gave me multi-billionaire death threats. I was also hypnotized to post a link from Fool.com of one thing Warren Buffett says you should never do, instead of the other two links from Fool.com of Warren Buffett, Warren Buffett wisdom to ring in the new year, or how to invest like Warren Buffett, as a method of concealing evidence, because the link referenced betting on U.S. healthcare instead of quotes of Warren Buffett discussing quality over quantity, because the social worker at Jordan Valley Medical Center told me a lot of hypnotic metaphors regarding quality over quantity, including because at Jordan Valley Medical Center were about quality over quantity. And they wanted me to post less convicting evidence on Facebook. I was also hypnotized to think Warren meant warrant, because the hypnotic metaphor referencing multi-billionaire death threats was used as a method to make me miss my court date for the assault charges I was framed for, so that they could put a warrant out for my arrest and arrest me. The last screenshot is the article that cued the quality over quantity and multi-billionaire death threats hypnotic metaphors. So, led up, part of it, but anyways, you can see this was quite a bit ago. There is evidence though that I sent that to her, and I believe the following messages in that also as well, but number one, quality over quantity, and you can see, so that's just a screenshot from Fool.com, and I actually ended up posting a different one on the Facebook status, but regardless of such, moving on from that one. Next is a car crash. So I was hypnotized to think car crash meant cartel. The top and bottom Facebook posts and referenced a car crash as further evidence of the hypnotic cues and hypnotic metaphors relating to the because acronym or hypnotic metaphor, or the acronym hypnotic metaphor. So anyways, as you can see here, and the post says, Billie Eilish died by a car crash, Channel 46 News, what is this? This isn't funny. And as you can see, obviously, prank, right? I didn't exactly notice that, especially because this part right here, the little toy or action figure that says you got owned, really distracted attention away from that part that says you've been pranked. So let me see here. As you can see, and a truck crashed into Billie Eilish's car and she died on the spot. So Billie Eilish died by a car crash. And then right here, I just got some strange feeling that I've been hypnotized as a warning that Billie Eilish might get in a car accident or something soon, really soon. I hope no one gets hurt and that everyone is safe. Have a good night. That was on March 22nd, 2021. Strangely enough, that was actually before this status, or before I ever saw that specifically. But, that's a screenshot, so I can't show you further evidence at the moment. But moving on from that, now I have to show you a video, but I'll go ahead and start just reading this first. I was hypnotized to think that the song All the Good Girls Go to Hell meant that they were going to make an example out of Billie Eilish for her political activism for environmental preservation by making her die for our sins like Jesus. I was hypnotized to imagine Billie being tied to a chair and decapitated with a chainsaw when I looked at her album cover with her sitting on the edge of the bed when I listened to the song All the Good Girls Go to Hell. And that's from her album When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go, by the way. I was also hypnotized to think all the good girls go to hell meant all the gaslighters go to hell, which we can interpret all the gaslighters go to jail in a literal sense after I make gaslighting illegal with the petitions I have. And let's see, so I was also hypnotized as a form of reinforcing the belief that all the good girls go to hell meant Billie Eilish was going to be decapitated with a chainsaw because all the good girls go to hell rhymed with Billie Eilish Cartel from the Because acronym. And then moving on from that, in this video, I briefly discussed the Because acronym as further evidence of the hypnotic metaphor. And let's see here. And you can also see that in the video I mentioned Joe Biden and 3 different multi-billionaires, including Donald Trump, Warren Buffett, and Bill Gates, as further evidence of the multi-billionaire death threat post-hypnotic suggestions. And I downloaded the Facebook Live video, which was originally recorded on April 17th, 2021. So as you can see here, that was the Facebook Live video, April 17th, 2021. And then at 2.5 minutes...
And I don't know if it's honestly like, oh, that was it, 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 that was it. It was this, but I need to buy a second phone because I think I might have sent a message saying like, because I was hypnotized to write, and when I wrote this, it says, so I wrote Because, and then I wrote Billie Eilish. So for the B, I wrote Billie. For the E, I wrote Eilish. For the C, I wrote Cartel. For the A, I wrote anyone. Or anyone's. And then U, useless. And then the S, snitches, and then E is eventually. That's why she's like in danger.
Because Billie Eilish Cartel, anyone useless snitches eventually, or also actually because everyone and anyone useless snitches eventually. So anyways, I actually have another video that I can go ahead and show as well. I didn't get to the part where I start talking about the billionaires that I referenced, but in this one, we'll go ahead and get to that. So this post was on April 19th, you can see, 2021. And hypnosis inhibited my vocabulary. There may have been messages that would be misunderstood, and I'm trying to be nothing but literal. And that's why, when it comes to the hypnotic metaphors, I was trying to be nothing but literal, because I didn't know what the hypnotic metaphors meant, and I thought that the captors would interpret the metaphors as, some type of threat or, meaning something other than the literal definition to add even more confusion to the situation. So, this was also another Facebook Live video downloaded on that day, April 19th, 2021, that I downloaded as evidence of the multi-billionaire death threats and ransoms, hypnotic metaphors. And then 4:55 to 5:19.
So, like, I have some multi-billionaires that kind of, like, I did them a solid and they owe me a solid, right? Just kind of, like, unique favors, so,
So there's that. And in that same video, I'm not going to show it right now, but I also discussed how I was, I believed that other people were taken hostage. But now we're going to go ahead and move on to the hypnotic metaphors that I was just referencing, actually. Let's see here. Okay. So anyways, alright, I was hypnotized to post a series of hypnotic metaphors on my Facebook that referenced negotiating hostage situations. When I was hypnotized to think I had to negotiate a hostage situation as a method of occupying my time and making me miss a court date for the assault charges that I was framed for. One of the hypnotic metaphors was a quote from one of Billie Eilish's concerts. "Are you guys okay? Hey, you guys need to be okay. 'Cause y'all are the reason I'm okay, okay?" And then, as you can see here, that's what I posted. Let's see here. That was on March 7th, 2021. I was hypnotized to think the quote referenced surviving gaslighting and to think it was a hypnotic metaphor that I could use to check on my family and friends' safety in a hostage situation. Then, moving on from that one, let's see. Okay, right there. Alright, so, "The world's a little blurry" was a hypnotic metaphor referencing not seeing a clear outcome for the hostage situation. I was hypnotized to think the world's a little blurry and to imagine a storm outside to set the mood for me negotiating the hostage situation unclearly. I was hypnotized to imagine the storm settling, the rain stopping, the sun shining, and the storm clouds clearing up after revising and editing the Facebook posts about the hostage situation and including the specific hypnotic metaphors. They told me, so the clear sky was supposed to represent the hostage situation clearing up and a clear outcome for the hostages. I was also hypnotized to think the world's a little blurry meant the hostages are a little blurry because I couldn't tell whether or not the hostages were going to weather the storm and survive. So I was also hypnotized to post, "It's so hard to think with the hypnosis. My memory and thoughts are blurry." I posted "are blurry," yeah, okay. And then "the world's a little blurry." So, as a hypnotic metaphor describing the hypnosis impairing my cognition, inducing confusion, repressing my memory, and impairing my ability to articulate speech normally. So, so that was me describing how, I was having difficulty thinking and negotiating the hostage situations. And, I didn't want anyone to act irrational or anything along those lines, trying to explain the difficulties I was having, hoping that the captors would become more patient. So, anyways, let's see. I was hypnotized to think her song "Everything I Wanted" was a hypnotic metaphor referencing me getting to talk about everything I wanted politically on NBC and keeping Billie Eilish alive in a hostage situation by offering the offering the kidnappers everything they wanted for a ransom. I was hypnotized to post, "What I'm trying to say is, as long as I get what I want, I'll give you what you want. I want to keep everyone alive and healthy. I'll give you everything you want." Referencing the song "Everything I Wanted" as a hypnotic metaphor to help me negotiate the hostage situation with everyone getting everything they wanted. Let's see, so I'll go ahead and show in here as well. It is right here. "What I'm trying to say, as long as I get what I want, I'll give you what you want. I want to keep everyone alive and healthy, and I'll give you everything you want." And of course, further evidence is me talking about hostages, talking about ransoms, and that's so it's the word want, by the way, that was indicating that, so specifically. And then the short film, Not My Responsibility, by Billie Eilish, contains sexually suggestive references, and I was hypnotized to think of my mother, and to think I was supposed to objectify Billie Eilish, and to think that by not objectifying her, I was endangering her life, because if I didn't objectify her, it meant that she was special or important to me, and that they could affect me and hurt me by hurting her. Which is kind of another reference to saying, it's not about how many hostages there are, it's about the quality of the hostages. Well, I mentioned all these things, and let me see here. So, it's right here. Anyways, so I was hypnotized to think that the song Therefore I Am meant they were objectifying me, which meant they were treating me like an MK Ultra experiment, kind of like how experiments are supposed to be objective as possible. Just like how, psychology and sociology are taking subjective sciences and trying to make them as objective as possible. I was hypnotized to post the hypnotic metaphors on my Facebook of Billie Eilish's songs and artwork that they related to negotiating hostage situations. I was hypnotized to think that the song Not My Responsibility meant that I was endangering Billie Eilish's life by not objectifying Billie Eilish, and that it was not the social worker at Jordan Valley Medical Center's responsibility. Which is why I was hypnotized to think the song Not My Responsibility meant that. Let me see. So, I was also hypnotized to use the hypnotic metaphor, we're not friends or anything, and she got death threats, as well as my friend Bennett Pala got killed because of my politics. Therefore I am, referencing the song Therefore I Am, responsible to keep her alive and healthy and negotiate hostage situations if necessary. I'm sorry. And this was referencing the Billie Eilish song, Therefore I Am, describing how they threatened to kill innocent people, and I didn't know if they threatened to kill innocent people. I didn't know if they couldn't kill my family and friends. So, let me see here. You can see right here, we're not even friends or anything. And she got death threats, as well as my friend Bennett Pala got killed because of my politics. Therefore, I am responsible to keep her alive and healthy and negotiate hostage situations if necessary. And you can see, I believe I might be talking about, objectifying. Someone that won't objectify you is rare. I think I was hypnotized to think of Selena Gomez when I typed up the word rare, by the way, because she has a new album that came out that was entitled Rare. So, let's see here. And I talk about like the concept of zoning out, for example. I apologize for the profanity, but yeah, anyways, so there's that. And then also, here's another Facebook post. So this one was on April 20th, 2021. This one was March 31st. Quite a bit before that, actually. But you can see here, I love this song. I love how she wears baggy clothes. Another reference to objectifying, right? And how baggy, comfortable clothes, like how she usually wore baggy, comfortable clothes, because finding someone that won't objectify you is rare. So, I love how she wears baggy clothes. I'm honestly just sick of people objectifying me. My heart isn't a toy. I'm a human. I have feelings. Get my name out of your mouth and stalk someone else for once. Why don't we objectify the planet Earth for one and objectify reality? What is it? What's the reality? objectify your behaviors, and think about what our behaviors are doing to these objects. Are we progressively making this object called Earth uninhabitable for life to reproduce? And are we unconditionally living in denial? Because to say the least, I see objects thrown on the floor, referencing littering. I see fossil fuels burned carelessly. There's no regulations for it. We're running out. I see people who actually cover up the reality with fabricated lies on a daily basis. What do you have to show for yourselves? We literally have no practical recycling programs. They are a joke. Most recyclable materials just get thrown in the garbage. Like, we have to go far out of our ways just to find recycling bins outside of our homes. Some people won't use trash cans that are 10 feet away. This is reality. Accept it. By the way, in the state of Utah, which is what I'm referencing specifically with this, most businesses do not have any recycling bins. So that's what I'm referencing there specifically. And if that's one of the problems, then I mean, it definitely does make it difficult if you have to walk, say, for example, a mile just to find a recycling bin, or drive a mile just to find a recycling bin for, something that you bought that had some plastic, for example. So anyways, accept it. We are denying our children a future. They won't have a fraction of the luxuries we have. We'll have to work harder, obtaining less results, and multiplied ecological issues. At the rate we're diminishing our ability to preserve delicate ecosystems and resources, not just in the United States, our planet is actually becoming more and more uninhabitable, is what I meant or intended to say, every day. Our planet is being suffocated with exploited resources, abused with trash and garbage, and neglected by our governing officials, and also, or leaders, right? So, and then I posted a link to that music video. And let me see here. So that was that. Now we're going to go on to the very last part. So, alright, I'll go ahead and get started. I was hypnotized to think drawing Valium pills meant I had a contract with Intermountain Healthcare for a discrete medical malpractice settlement agreement. Real quickly, I also wanted to just go back and point this out. So it was, with this one, the world's a little blurry, and I was also hypnotized to think it was when I was talking about the hostage situation being clear or unclear. That I was hypnotized to think about how I was hypnotized to not be able to speak clearly. So, just wanted to point that out, and how I was hypnotized not to be able to mention it until much later in the video. I was hypnotized to think drawing Valium pills meant I had a contract with Intermountain Healthcare for a discrete medical malpractice settlement agreement. I was hypnotized to draw a little stick figure climbing a mountain, and I was hypnotized to think that if I wanted the jail time to be sentenced over my head so that I could be released from the jail, that I should draw a little arm over the stick figure's head. I was hypnotized to think the mountains meant Intermountain Healthcare, and that the stick figure climbing the mountain was me trying to get healthcare. I was hypnotized to think that if I actually had medical malpractice and if I wanted healthcare, that as long as I didn't sue him, the CEO of Intermountain Healthcare, or talk about anything related to medical malpractice, that I could plead no contest in court and get the jail time sentenced over my head so that I could go to the hospital to get healthcare, and that he would give me 50% of the company, and all that I had to do was ask for Valium in the emergency room. I was also hypnotized to think that the message goes right over little Billie's head after drawing the little arm over the stick figure's head, and that the stick figure was little Billie. This was done because the metaphor itself is a hypnotic suggestion implying that if I wanted or needed to get healthcare, that I needed to plead no contest in court, and the stick figure was named Little Billie just to confuse me, so that I wouldn't know I was being deceived. In this context, I was hypnotized to think little Billie was a metaphor referring to a young child that would be watching the movie about me produced by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Similar to how John Doe is a commonly used metaphor to reference a male's name, and Jane Doe is a commonly used metaphor to reference a female's name. The metaphor was used to make me believe the unfortunate circumstances that I couldn't get the medical care I needed in jail would go right over little Billie's head, so that I wouldn't portray the image that the Make-A-Wish Foundation was scary as a method of instilling the belief that the message would be going over someone else's head and not mine. Anyways, this is an example of like the mountains that I was hypnotized to draw. You can see the little stick figure labeled Little Billie. Getting to the top or the peak of the mountain meant healthcare, and that would be the stick figure with the arm over its head, meaning I wanted the jail time to be sentenced over my head so that I could go and get healthcare. Basically the jail time being in my way of getting healthcare as well. The hypnotic metaphor is an isomorphic metaphor that implied little Billie was climbing the Intermountain Healthcare mountain to get healthcare, and that by little Billie putting his arm over his head, he put the jail time over his head, so that he could finish climbing the Intermountain Healthcare mountain to get healthcare. The story entertained and distracted my conscious attention and awareness so that I wouldn't question the hypnotic commands to not talk about medical malpractice, not sue him, and plead no contest in court. Little Billie was actually supposed to be me, but the metaphor referred to a young child to confuse me so that I wouldn't question the metaphor or hypnotic commands. Let me see here. The hypnotic command, by the way, was to plead no contest. I believe I stated that. That's how I would be able to, so plead no contest, and I get the jail time sentenced over my head, and that's the metaphor. You can see there's even a visual representation here of it, like a diagram. I was hypnotized to think I could only be given STDs I wasn't tested for during the movie, and that if I got tested once for an STD during the movie, that I couldn't be given that STD in the movie, worsening the metaphorical threats was cued the more I insisted on getting a comprehensive STD screening as a form of punishment for attempting to think rationally and logically. So there was supposed to be a period in there. Right there after that. So during the movie that it's supposed to be after the word movie. Sorry about that. So, yeah, you can actually kind of see it's very small though. So worsening metaphorical threats were cued the more I insisted on getting a comprehensive STD screening as a form of punishment for attempting to think rationally and logically. I was hypnotized to think that telling the doctors I needed to get tested meant I was only trying to get tested for one STD, and that it meant I was going to have a girl test me for sexually transmitted diseases by having sexual intercourse with me. I was hypnotized to think that if I said I needed to get checked for STDs, that it meant I was trying to get tested for a few different STDs, and that I was fighting the hypnosis, and to imagine it was like playing a game of chess because they just put me in check. I was hypnotized to think that, and I was also hypnotized to imagine somebody moving a chess piece, by the way. So, I was hypnotized to think that if I said I needed to be screened for STDs, that I was trying to get tested for all the different sexually transmitted diseases, and that I was going to be screened by putting me in a latex condom because they were going to give me too many sexually transmitted diseases to ever be able to have sexual intercourse without a condom again. Let me see. Due to the threats of contracting STDs, I was hypnotized to think that if I went to the hospital to get tested for STDs, that I was supposed to ask for one of the medications, Klonopin or Valium. I was hypnotized to think that two different medications meant different things without knowing what they were supposed to mean as a method of confusion and to distract my attention away from the reality of the situation. I was hypnotized to think that the medical care I received would be more dependent on which medication I chose to ask for than the actual test results. I was hypnotized to think that Klonopin meant I was making a movie scene, and I was hypnotized to think that Valium meant an emergency medical intervention for my movie, and to not know what they were supposed to mean until I moved out of Colorado, and to think that I could only get an emergency medical intervention for my movie in the state of Colorado. I was also hypnotized to think that asking for Valium or Klonopin also meant multiple other different things to elicit confusion and to prevent me from pleading not guilty and going to trial for the assault charges I was framed for. So then I go into further detail with that. Let's see. I was hypnotized to think that Valium meant I need something longer lasting, and I didn't know. Medical malpractice script. The CEO of Intermountain Healthcare made a deal with me that if I didn't talk about medical malpractice, that he would give me 50% of the company, and that all I had to do was go to the hospital and ask for Valium. Valium, I was also hypnotized to think meant Haley Mathers, which is Eminem's daughter. Told me that Haley Mathers was supposed to make the Make-A-Wish Foundation seem less scary. I was also hypnotized to think that Valium meant an emergency medical intermission in my movie so that I could get actual medical care. And then with Klonopin, I was hypnotized to think of the script being It's Not My Fault, and I was also hypnotized to think that Klonopin meant Delaney. And I was also hypnotized to think that I was supposed to go back to Unity Health, which is a hospital, their emergency room, out in Arkansas, and that I was supposed to go in, be walking into the emergency room with my head down, saying, "It's not my fault. I need Klonopin more than I need Delaney." And then jail court plea scripts. So I was hypnotized to think guilty meant Delaney would feel guilty for not sleeping with me. I was hypnotized to think not guilty meant Delaney would not feel guilty for sleeping with me. And no contest, I was hypnotized to think I would choose Delaney no contest. So I was hypnotized to think that in order to get out of jail, I had to be sleeping with somebody because it was part of my movie. And I was hypnotized to think that I had two contracts with, two girls that I didn't have to, that I had contracts with that would, sleep with me for the movie. And since Haley Mathers was out in California and I wasn't able to leave the state of Utah, I decided to, and I never even met her. I was like, okay, well, I'll, do the Klonopin. So that was Delaney. And then when I met with my lawyer, this was cued when I went to go in and talk to him. And he told me that the prosecutor, was willing to drop the second-degree felony aggravated assault down to a third-degree felony aggravated assault. As long as I pled no contest or guilty. And I was sitting there for a very long period of time, not sure what it meant, not sure what to do, but, my lawyer recommended pleading no contest if I decided to take the agreement. And basically, the concept would be if I pled not guilty, that would mean that, I wouldn't be sleeping with Delaney. And in other words, I wouldn't be able to get out of jail. So the only way that I would be able to get out of jail was by pleading guilty or no contest. Because, for a movie, it would be Delaney would feel guilty for not sleeping with me. Well, that doesn't exactly sound necessarily the best. but no contest, because, that would be guilt tripping her into doing it. You know what I mean? Which doesn't sound exactly the best type of movie that you'd want to watch, right? But if I pled no contest, I was hypnotized to think that meant I would choose Delaney no contest, which would sound better, right? I would choose Delaney over everybody else, no contest is what that implied. So, in a movie you would think, oh, that's cute, romantic, whatever. So, anyways. Bear River Mental Health Court contract. In order to avoid a multi-million-dollar medical malpractice lawsuit, Bear River would give me mental health court to get me out of jail so that I wouldn't have to break my legs just to go to the hospital to get my medications, since they don't prescribe controlled substances in the jail. And I was hypnotized to imagine a Klonopin being the bear, a Klonopin pill being the bear from the Jungle Book, making me feel comforted going to court, because the bear technically, Bear River Mental Health, would give me mental health court to get me out of jail and keep me from breaking my legs for medications. I was hypnotized to think I could fracture my spinal cord jumping off a flight of stairs in jail and become paralyzed from the waist down for the rest of my life so that they could keep me in jail. They did that to make me afraid to do that so that I wouldn't be able to go to the hospital and they'd be able to keep me in jail. Because if I broke my legs, then they wouldn't be able to keep me in jail. So, probation court contract. I was also hypnotized to think I had a contract with probation, and that it was that probation will let me out of jail on probation as long as I didn't shut down the jail, and they hypnotized me to think that it was because they didn't want to make probation look bad for putting people in jail, and that as long as I didn't shut down the jail, that probation would have a jail to send me and other people to. Sorry, I'm hypnotized on my handshake right now, but I was hypnotized to think that since the movie plot that I was told that I was, and hypnotized to think that I was making, was about legalizing marijuana, that they wanted to make probation look good, and they didn't want probation officers to look bad or sick for putting people in jail for smoking marijuana. So they wanted to give me probation to make probation look desirable, because if I was on probation, then I wouldn't be in jail. And what that referenced was how marijuana has a lot of different medical benefits, and probation would look sick for putting people in jail that were self-medicating medical conditions, because they were being not only was it cruel and unusual punishment by denying them the ability to smoke marijuana or to consume THC for medical conditions while in jail, it also was a form of punishment for self-medicating medical conditions. The entire war on drugs was rather abusive to the American people. Anyways, and then further evidence I was hypnotized and framed is seen in these Instagram messages, because the Instagram messages were all dated on May 1st, 2020, several months before the date of the assault allegations I was framed for. This invalidates any claims or accusations that I was being dishonest regarding being hypnotized as an attempt to get out of court. So I'll go ahead and get started. Now, as you can see here, this is to the rapper G-Eazy. I was hypnotized to think that he came up with the movie plot and was going to, I was going to be able to make the movie for the Make-A-Wish Foundation with G-Eazy, and that I was going to be able to go on NBC and talk about it afterwards with G-Eazy. So, what do I have to do to wake up? Do I just go back to Colorado emergency room and tell them I want Valium so I can get emergency medical care? That was on May 1st, 2020. And Oh, this is the part that I forgot to mention. So I was hypnotized to think that they repressed certain physiological and biological functions, such as cough reflex, mucus production, salivation, hunger, thirst, to improve my acting performance. Because, for example, if they didn't want me to interrupt my movie scenes by getting food or water, that basically I would be able to wake up from that if I went to the emergency room, because it was an emergency medical intervention. And waking up implying waking up from the hypnosis. So obviously you can see all the indications in there. And that was also before I had court. I had court, the date of the allegations was actually in August, about over 3 months later, August 2020. And let's see, I sent the same message to several different celebrities on Instagram. What do I have on the same date, on May 1st, 2020? What do I have to do to wake up? Do I just go back to a Colorado emergency room and tell them I want Valium so I can get emergency medical care? This was sent to Billie Eilish. This was on the 1st of May. And let me see here. I also sent the same message to Haley Jade, who is Haley Jade Mathers. And I sent her the message, what do I have to do to wake up? Do I just go back to a Colorado emergency room and tell them I want Valium so I can get emergency medical care? And anyways, so I messaged her specifically because I was hypnotized to think that Valium meant Haley Mathers. And I figured that she might know. And then I messaged Will Smith too, because he's a movie actor. I thought he was involved in this as well. I was hypnotized to, at least. And that's, of course, on the same date, May 1st. May 1st for the Haley Jade one as well, Haley Jade Mathers. Let's see. And then this is the hypnotherapist that first hypnotized me. Her name is Christine Price. And I'll discuss that at the end. But let's see. So I also sent this to Jorna Lucas. I was also hypnotized to think that he was involved. May 1st, 2020. What do I have to do to wake up? Do I just go back to a Colorado emergency room and tell them I want Valium so I can get emergency medical care? And then Halsey, who I thought was involved and aware of the situation because she was dating G-Eazy earlier that year, and I believe the year before that, or the year before that. So, what do I have to do to wake up? Do I just go back to a Colorado emergency room and tell them I want Valium so I can get emergency medical care? You can see that's on the same date, May 1st, 2020. And then I also messaged Eminem the same thing. I want to write you a letter because this one's a little bit of a different message, but I want to write you a letter because these doctors are making me extremely suicidal, and this whole movie production is turning my health into a joke. At this rate, I would want nothing, and I intended to say, at this rate, I would want nothing but to die. I'm only human, dude. And I was also hypnotized to think that Eminem was involved, and I sent him this same message on May 1st. What do I have to do to wake up? Do I just go back to a Colorado emergency room and tell them I want Valium so I can get emergency medical care? And, of course, there is further evidence in the wording of the messages I want Valium because of the hypnotic metaphor for everything I wanted. Now, there's some more screenshots here that I wanted to show you. This is 3 different Facebook accounts for Christine Price, the hypnotherapist that I referenced earlier. And as you can see here, this is the same person that was in those messages with to Halsey and to Will Smith. And by the way, also I wanted to point out the reason that I was hypnotized, the reason that I sent that was to Halsey and to Will Smith was because Will Smith was an actor, and this was implying that since Christine Price is an author, I was hypnotized to think that G-Eazy was going to make the movie for me, and that Christine Price was going to write a book about it, write a book about my life. So this implied that I wanted to write a book about it instead of make a movie because the acting was too difficult for me and I needed medical care. So let's see here. And you can see that I wrote about that. And the reason why I sent it to Halsey was because Halsey used to date G-Eazy. So by sending that to Halsey, saying that I wanted to make a book instead, right? Well, that's the concept. Now you can see here, there's evidence May 1st at 8:02 p.m. I don't know what year that was. It doesn't specify, does it? Well, anyways, these were in 2020, even though it doesn't show that it was the year 2020 in these pictures, and the reasoning for that, they could be very old screenshots that I had saved on Google Photos, but I messaged her, how much money do I have to pay you to wake me up? She responds, and she changes the subject, completely. She doesn't even ask, wake you up from what? And she just tells me that, she'd like me to get some support and asked me if I would be able to see a master healer for an effective intervention. And you can see that I also said, what's your proposal? I need medical attention urgently. And you can see here on May 1st at 8:02 p.m. I typed up, you gave me hypnotherapy. How much money do I have to pay you to wake me up? I was delirious. I'm in desperate need of medical attention. And then on May 1st at 8 p.m., how much money do I have to pay you to wake me up? So there are those for you. And that would be it for this. So again, I do appreciate watching the video. Please make sure to watch part 2 of 2 as well. And when I said why else would I ask, what do I have to do to wake up, if it wasn't pertaining to waking up from hypnosis. So anyways, thanks for watching the video. Presented quite a bit of evidence in that, and have a wonderful day.